welcome to the Mindfulness broadcast. So this morning I wanted to talk about attachment and how it is really what I think for me, and I think it's the same for many folks, is that it's kind of our attachment to things can be the source of our greatest suffering when we really kind of boil it down. So I think about, my attachment to things like something's scheduled and the weather should be nice for that thing. I have put a lot of work into something and people should acknowledge it or use it or even love it. I have done something for my 9-year-old, gotten him something wonderful, and he should be very appreciative. And really like it and say thank you for those things. It's these attachments to things that when they go well, then I'm happy, right? Or I feel like things are good and I feel at ease and I feel grateful. And if those attachments are not met, then I feel resentful or angry or bad in some way. And so when I think about those things, I think a couple things come up for me. One is that it means my emotional state is attached to things that are out of my control because somebody else's response, somebody else's engagement, somebody else's approval or disapproval is really out of what they do, their behaviors is out of my control. So I'm attaching my emotional outcome to things that are outside of my control, which then if I go a little bit further, makes me feel like, well, maybe my emotions are out of my control, right? And so when we look at that through that lens of mindfulness and through that lens of attachment, we begin to kind of get curious about it. How could I bring my emotional state and my responses into things that are more within my control? How could I let go of, or at a minimum, acknowledge my attachments, right? So, oh, I'm feeling angry about that because I have some attachment to you really liking this, or you, or feeling like I want to be seen or I want to be heard. And so, if I can at least acknowledge that attachment, I can then bring some curiosity to it. So, how else could I ask for my needs to be met? How could I share my desires? What are other pathways to giving without an attachment to the outcome, right? I can get curious about those things if I can bring in a compassionate curiosity to those attachments. And that's a normal process for all of us as humans. And so as we go into our practice today, I'm going to guide us through the process, but I also want to invite you to be curious about your own level of attachments. And we can even think as immediate as our attachment to a mindfulness practice, right? What is the attachment? Oh, I'm supposed to totally be able to be here and quiet my mind. And at the end, I'm just going to levitate out of here and have a great day, right? This attachment to what it means to be mindful. And instead, what we might find is that our practice is really challenging and that our mind drifts a lot, and that sometimes maybe it even brings up a harder emotional state for us because I'm tapping into something that actually is real for me. And so if I'm attached to a good outcome, then I might start telling my story. Oh, mindfulness practice, it doesn't work. It isn't for me, right? And I'm going to stop doing the very thing that is actually helping me get to a more controlled emotional response, an intrinsic response. So let's play with that a little this morning of just attachment to our outcomes and turning on the light to even notice our attachment in the first place. So if you're ready, go ahead and close your eyes. You can take a soft gaze, and either one is welcomed. Just notice your whole being this morning, your whole physical being. Notice your temperature, if you feel cold or hot, somewhere in between, or all of the above. Notice your energy level. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're energized. Notice your hunger level. Notice the moisture in your mouth. Like, do you have a dry mouth? Are your lips dry? Does it feel okay? Notice your eyes. Are they focused on something? Are they darting back and forth? If they're closed, are your eyelids fluttering? Notice your hands. If they're gripped, dry, open. Just notice your whole being. Notice your brain, your mind, and what state it is this morning. Foggy, busy, grounded, anxious. And just say good morning to that whole beautiful being. Just meet it exactly where it is. And see if you can bring empathy and compassion and gratitude to this whole being that is you. And as you're doing that, noticing any expectations that you might have of yourself or of others or of schedules or of traffic or of the weather. And if you're like me, that starts to pile up. There's a whole lot of expectation. And even as I talk about those expectations, what I notice is my whole energy shifts. I feel a tightness in my chest. What happens for you as you think about those expectations? And again, in the same way that you met your body and said hello to the whole being, do that with your expectations. This kind of just acknowledgement. Well, hello. Aren't there so many of you? And as you acknowledge and build your awareness of these expectations, build in a bit of just mindful curiosity. And one of my very favorite questions is, how do I want to be in relationship to these expectations? How do I want to be in relationship to this? Because I can't control the weather. I can't control the traffic. I can't control other people or their feelings or their actions or their behaviors. And while nothing is certain, there is definitely a solid sense that some of my expectations will be met and some of them will not. And how do I want to be in relationship to those? Because that is something I have control over. And I build in compassion? Can I build in acceptance? Can I lean into the unknown and invite flexibility? It doesn't mean that when our expectations aren't met that we're just happy about it. We still get to feel lots of feelings and think lots of thoughts. Acceptance just means that we're allowing and accepting that these things may or may not be met. And so I'm building a different relationship with those things rather than a grip, a white knuckle attachment. That sounds a lot like, if this happens, I'll be happy. And if this doesn't happen, something's wrong, or I'll be mad, right? We're letting that go. And for me, that's a practice I have to return to a lot. Because, wow, I have a lot of expectations. Just let all of that swirl around you. Allow whatever is percolating for you to be there. Notice if there's one particular thing or several things that you want to tuck away, to think about more, to journal on, to process through, to self-coach. And as we begin to close, just follow your breath in and follow your breath out. And see if we can just meet ourselves in this moment as it is, unconditionally. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day.